Hello, lovely people. I hope you can hear me well. I hope you're having a fantastic week. Welcome to Friday, the new day of the weekly update. It's going to be a relatively short one today because my last weekly update was on Monday, and this week will just be a 3-4 day week in terms of what I can update you with. Next week, the full 7 days, the full shebang. So I'm going to speak about Polgar Mates, a classical game that I've already shared with you on the YouTube channel, a classical game which I haven't, and a blindfold chess game that I played. So, like I say, rather brief. I'll keep this way less than 10 minutes so you can go about your day. Polgar Mates. I have been still continuing to focus on puzzles in general, and in the last week that has been mostly focusing on solving a set of mate in 2s and now mate in 3s from the book. Actually, no, I'm still on mate in 2s. I got confused from the Andrus mate in 3s. I am using this book, 5,334 chess problems. I think it's just called Chess, the book, by it's the Polgar sisters' father who wrote the book, and I'll link it in the description so you can actually find the proper name for it. It's good. The reason why Ben Johnson from the Perpetual Chess podcast recommends a chessable course on checkmating patterns is because you drill a certain type of pattern over and over again. This book doesn't do that, so you are just getting different kinds of checkmating patterns, and it's not drilling you in the same way. It's not giving you the same drilling you. It's not giving you the same variation in different, slightly different ways multiple times to get that sort of embedded in your mind. But I like them. Some of them take me ages though. I think yesterday I did 27 Polgar mate in 2s, and some of them I get them within a minute or even less, and some of them are 10, 15 minutes because I just get stuck and I get confused, or a piece on the board that I have at my disposal tricks me into thinking it's going to be part of the mate, or I see something that tempts me into thinking the mate's in this direction, but actually it's in a completely different direction. And mate in 2s, you might just think, come on, how can that take longer than a minute? But it does sometimes. I'm certainly finding that some of them are very tricky. So I'm looking forward to the mate in 3s. I have got a taste for the mate in 3s because of Andrus Toth's homework for me, which I completed, which was basically try and make sure you can do 20 mate in 3 problems on lead chess in a row without making a mistake. That's pretty fun. But I'm looking forward to getting to the sort of constructed Polgar mates mate in 3s. Okay. I shared with you a classical game earlier this week, and that was rather painful. I found that to be quite an agonizing loss. Not during the game so much, but I went through it with my opponent afterwards, and I just felt like I didn't see a lot of what was going on early enough. And even when I did see what was going on, I didn't play particularly well. Someone left a comment which was basically, I like what you were thinking. This is the commenter talking to me. I like what you were thinking, but you thought, yes, okay, I'll just be down the exchange if I just leave the rook and go about my merry way. And then I just spent 20 minutes thinking about this long variation which didn't work. A mantra in the chess dojo is long variation, wrong variation. Basically, at our level, like anything less than maybe 2000 rated, if you're going off on a 10, 15 move variation, it's almost certain that you've made a mistake. You've missed a move from your opponent, or you have not found the best move for your side. And I certainly fell foul of that because I thought I could get that knight, which I never could get. I've done a lot of analysis of that this week, that game, and that was rather helpful. I do think that analysing classical games that you've already spent quite a lot of time thinking about, and then writing those thoughts down is amazing. It's like learning to journal, learning to get your thoughts down on paper, and I found that to be already quite a useful thing for my chess. It basically forces you to make explicit what was maybe cloudy and implicit in your own mind, which is good. I played another classical game this week, lost that. It was against a player much better than me, and in my post-mortem with that person, they gave me a good piece of advice, which was basically, I played against the Caro-Kann in this game, And they said basically, in the Caro-Kann, it's all about pawn structure. It's all about playing c5 for my opponent, the person playing the Caro-Kann, and timing that move c5 and understanding the pawn levers. So, okay, this pawn can break and change the structure. This pawn can break and change the structure. I basically fixed the king side, and I was like, "Whoa, look at me! I'm doing really well. I've got loads of space." Thinking my opponent was unhappy with that, but actually they later said they're very happy to not have the space. The point of the Caro-Kann is that this is their description of it. One point of the Caro-Kann, is your pieces have very few squares, but the squares they do have are the right squares. They have just the right. They have just. They worded it better than me. They're very eloquent. But yeah, they have just what they need, and they can work well within the small amount of space they have. And then just at the right time, they can break, aiming for that c5. And I completely missed the idea of c5. I wasn't even paying attention to it. I ended up blundering because I lost my bishop because of a fork. That wasn't particularly painful, but it was more that I just didn't understand the structure, and so that was useful to one of the ways to improve is to understand your pawn structures, and I certainly don't. I'm clueless basically. All right, lastly, I played a blindfold game with a friend of mine where I was sat without seeing the board. I didn't actually put a blindfold on, but I just couldn't see the board. And they had a physical board, and they were making my moves as I said them out loud, and then they would tell me what they'd moved. And I've done that before, and this time it was a lot more clear for me. I didn't have to. The previous time I played a blindfold game, it was so effortful. It's still very effortful this time, but it was so effortful, and I was making mistakes, and I forgot that a pawn had moved. So I thought this pawn was on its home square, but it's actually on d4 or something like that. Maybe not the d pawn, maybe like the c or b pawn. But this time, I made a couple of mistakes early on, but then once I got into the groove, I barely made mistakes, and I was pretty sure where everything was. One point, I missed that my opponent's queen could take a pawn of mine, but I wasn't confused where that queen was. I wasn't confused where that pawn was. I just missed. I couldn't quite see that there was a clear line of sight to the pawn, for example. So that was really useful. I really would like to get to the point where I can play blindfold games pretty smoothly, and also read chess books. That's the main thing for me. I want to be able to read a chess book without looking at a board or without putting the moves on a computer board. Just literally sit there, go, yes, I see what you're saying, Tal, and then continue about my merry way. How am I feeling in general? Feel pretty good. I didn't do quite as much work as this in the last couple of days as I would have liked to, but just for personal reasons. And then I know that next week I will have a much clearer week in terms of other obligations, so I'll be able to give much more of my focus and attention to my chess, which I'm excited about. That's pretty much it from me. The sun's going down, so I will head off. This is probably less short than I hoped it would be. I'm really hope that's okay. I hope it's less than 10 minutes as well. All right, have a lovely week and a lovely weekend. Speak to you soon. Bye.